Hello there, my name's Peter Spoerer and welcome back to the White Horse Railway. Now, I've got a couple of problems which I hope to solve in this video. The first one is that friends of mine have been complaining about my 3-metre radius curve and their locomotives slowing down on it, and perhaps I should fit gauge widened track. Also, I've got some wood rot under that very same curve, so I'm going to try to solve both problems at the same time. Now, normally my viewers are used to seeing fantastic American locomotives steaming around and also lovely high-speed trains on my tracks, but today we're going to deal with something more basic, something like maintenance. I know many of you are already running away, but maintenance is very important. I want to do some testing. I want to test how much friction there is when a rake of coaches travels around a 3-metre curve compared with travelling around a 4-metre curve. That's no one seems to get any problems with the 4-metre curve. For those of you who know my track, you'll know that I have a basic oval with carriage sidings on the inside and the outside, the steaming bay, the harbour branch. The oval itself has a 4-metre curve around here and a 3-metre radius curve around here, joined by two nice straights. Many people have noticed running on my track that when they go down this straight they pick up speed, and then when they hit this 3-metre radius curve they slow down due to the greater friction caused by the flanges against the sides of the rail. Not too much trouble is experienced around the 4-metre curve. So I want to do some experiments to find out exactly what the drag is around a 3-metre curve. I intend to put some gauge widening track here. We have a J94 which has been powered by a BCV, and if you don't know what a BCV is, it's a battery carrying vehicle with radio control and battery power, which via a little link underneath powers the loco. Behind that is my camera car, and instead of a camera being mounted upon it, we have a little set of scales. The scales are hooked onto the front hook of the rake. As you can see, there's no weight on the drawbar chain, but if I pull back on the coaches, you'll see the weight go up. There it is at 4.2 kg. So I'm going to be able to test now how much drag these 5 coaches are putting on the train as it goes around my track. So we're now leaving the straight and joining the 3-metre curve. Note how the drawbar weight is going up. It's climbing, it's climbing. It's now up to 0.24 kilograms. And now as it comes out of the curve, the weight drops. And as it goes into the straight, it drops as little as 0.6 as it heads towards the 4-metre curve. So we have just 0.6 as we now enter the 4-metre curve, and it settles down to a nice drawbar weight of 0.14 kilograms. Our 5-coach rake on standard 10mm gauge 1 track pulls about 0.06 of a kilogram. As it enters the 3-metre radius track, it climbs up to 0.24 of a kilogram and continues all the way around. This slows the train. When it enters the straight section again, the drawbar weight decelerates down to 0.06 again. Going around the 4-metre radius track, the drawbar pressure is 0.14 of a kilogram, just over half what it is around a 3-metre radius curve. You can see from the figures shown, a 3-metre radius track has 4 times the friction of a straight piece of track, but a 4-metre radius track has only about double. So there's a tremendous difference between a 4-metre curve and a 3-metre curve. So the adage of putting in gauge widening track on the 3 metre curve seems a good thing to try to reduce the friction on the 3 metre curve. So let's fit the gauge widening track from Mr. Cliff Barker. Tools for putting old rail into new sleeper units. A file for filing the ends of the track, WD-40 to lubricate it, and a rubber hammer.
Okay.
So just to make sure that the sleeper sections will go on easily, we just give the ends of the rails a bit of a chamfer up both ends. And then take some WD-40, because this is old track, but it just helps to lubricate it on. New track really doesn't need the WD-40, but I'm so tight I always use old track. So now we have 20 mixed yard lengths of gauge widened track ready for installation on the 3 metre curve. So we've made a start on the gauge widening. In order to do the gauge widening track laying, we need a number of specialist track laying tools. Here is a gauge, I'll be showing you how to use that in a minute. A saw for cutting off the track, the pins, a pin hammer, a little drill to drill the sleepers with, and of course the track. So let's lay a section of track. The first thing we've got to do is to put these two sections together employing a fish plate. Now, as all my friends will tell you, I'm so tight I always reuse the old ones. So here's the old fish plates. Just pushed firmly on. I just make sure they're refurbished and in good order, and then of course we put the two together. First feed one rail on, then the other. Don't worry about the gaps just yet. The first thing you got to do is push the sleepers up so that little spaces on the sleepers are pushed firmly against the sleepers on the other side, all the way along the length of track. So I'm just pushing out all the sleepers forward so there's no gaps. So now gently curve the track to fit the situation. And this is where this comes into play, because this one is going to be used to get the distances exactly right. After bending, there'll be a bit of a gap on the outside rail. Don't worry about that just yet. Now, by employing this little track jig, we now line everything up. It's taking its curve from the outer walls, and it's being trapped by the sleepers. The inner track will be done later on. So there, I have a good distance and a good radius. I'm drilling little holes. Some plastics won't split, but I'm not taking the risk with these rather expensive gauge widened sleepers. So I drilled two little fine millimeter holes and just using small 1/2 inch panel pins. And along we go. Now look at these different lengths of rail. We had a gap at the other end. We simply knock and we close it up, but that's too close. Using a small screwdriver, open it up so it's about 2 mil. Depending on the time of year that you're doing your track laying, ready for great expansion in the hot heat of the summer. That'll do nicely. At the other end of the track we've got a nicely shortened length, but on the inside of course it's longer because it's been on the inside of the track. So we take our angle grinder, cut it off, and then just smooth off the edges, particularly the underside and even the top side. So now we can put the next fish plates on and carry on. As you can see, we're proceeding well. Always the inside rail is longer than the outside rail. You're probably wondering what the second gauge was for, and of course that fits now. The sleepers on the inside, the outside, and the 2 rails. And that's it. Some of the old rail joiners that I'm employing are a bit on the spread side, so with the aid of a small pair of pliers or side cutters you can just ease them in, and then you can refurbish old ones. Goes, and then push the sleepers up. Well, I've done as much as I can do for now. As you can see, there's still another few yards to go. The sleepers are on order from Mr. Barker. I underestimated, of course, how much I wanted to do. As soon as the sleeper sections arrive, I'll complete the work. Here's standard 10mm track, and you can see that it's at 44.5. If I now move up to the gauge widened track, there we go. Well, that one's even gone up to 45.7. So it's a good mil increase in size, which enables the trains to go around the tracks a lot easier. So there's the test train mounted on the straight. It'll come off the straight and then immediately enter the very sharp 3 metre radius curve. So here we are, and we're conducting the drag test now with the gauge widened track on the 3 metre curve. Four days ago the track was raised on this 3 metre curve and new gauge widened track was fitted instead. I wonder what effect this is having on the drag. This is the straight approaching the 3 metre curve at 1 kilogram. The brake is now on the 3 metre curve. Now coming off the 3 metre curve. A significant reduction in drag. Well, that's a pretty conclusive test. Gauge widening track actually works. Taking the gauge out does reduce the drag factor by about 1/3. So if you're having troubles putting steam locomotives around your tracks, I would contact Cliff Barker. Bye now. It doesn't get much better than that.